of this, or do we want to go on longer?
Is there anything else you need
As I
tonight?
said, there's one thing that I would definitely, at least one item that needs to be addressed tonight, and that's the approval of the well construction contract with B&Y, so that we continue moving on to Summerfield Athletic Park.
And what's council's thoughts on our proposal to continue or to have a special meeting on the 23rd?
We're gonna have to unless we want to stay here till 2 o'clock.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I think that'd be fine, but I would continue to go and vote on the well.
That's right, I agree.
Can I just make one statement? I'd like to take vacation this month, and I'd like to be gone for that meeting, so if there's anything that you'd like to discuss with me, I'd ask that you do it during this meeting.
Okay.
I really need a vacation.
I bet you do.
You need to be here for the discussion of the oil contract.
I'll just reiterate what I said last year. It's a standard LGC contract, local government commission contract, so there's,
Really open for maneuver.
it's just whether or not you want us to continue the contract or do go out for bid.
Okay, shall we move to 11C, discussion approval of SAP well construction contract based on our conversation?
If I can have 2 minutes of time. One, there's a reference to the fact that this is a test well. Let me make this clear. It is a well, that it would be a permanent well. The test part about it is we're testing how much water we can get out. And if we can get enough water out of it, then it will be a well. If we don't get enough water out of it, we're going to have to go get another well site. This is doing award of a contract for $12,900, but there are a couple of contingencies, and this was part of the contract that I laid on your desk tonight that was not included in the package. I believe it's 4 contingencies. The first is that, and this is coming from out of their contract, is that's the standard depth that they dig, that they base all their numbers off of, is a 600-foot well. If you get much beyond that, then they start to give up and choose another site. So that 12,900 is based on an average depth of 600 feet. If it's shorter than that, then it may cost less money. But if it's deeper than that, then there's an additional $15 per foot charge. DNY, of course, makes no guarantee of locating adequate water to meet the needs required by the town for irrigation. I think that's a pretty standard for any well. If an additional well must be drilled due to a lack of water at the first well site, then the pricing for the second well will be the same as the first well. And I've put that in there so that we weren't get into a situation where they kind of had us over the barrel and said, oh, well, the second one's going to cost you 3 times as much. And then the contractor price does not include the cost of purchasing and installing a pump for the well, because we don't know what type of pump we're going to need, and that's not included in this 12,900. My one item that I'd like to get the attorney to address on this is that this is a contract for 12,900. We can put in a do not exceed amount to try to absorb that the 600, the additional footage. If we have to go a little bit deeper than that, but if we have to re-drill the entire well, it's essentially another $12,900. How do we address that here so that we're not sitting in the field and having to stop and trying to get council back together to reapprove something if that worst case scenario occurs? Can the council approve a do not exceed that would include the potential for 2 well drills?
Yes.
About extra depth.
Or well drills or extra depth, I guess we could go into that.
Now, let's see what.
But this contract for $12,900 means nothing. So did he in essence get the bid?
I'm sorry.
If you're doing it with all these contingencies, $12,900 means nothing.
But
There's
all
4
of-
contingencies attached to that. So
But-
did he in effect get the bid?
Yeah, all of them were the same way. They were all going to have those contingencies. They were all going to have additional pricing for deeper wells. They were all going to have in the issue of not finding water in one spot requires you to drill in the second spot. So any well driller was going to have same basic contingencies built into it. So in that regard, they were the least expensive of and best choice for this.
But unless we do a not to exceed $12,900, this contract pretty much means nothing, and that's the way I look at it.
I don't,
It doesn't have it doesn't have a cost.
well, that's what I'm trying to get to is.
There's no cost associated with the $12,900 with the four contingencies.
Well, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
trying to get
it
to.
could be $50,000 by the time it gets done.
And that's what I'm trying to get to, is what is the level of contingency that council will consider with the fact that the well may go deeper than 600 feet, which would have an additional charge of $15 per feet, and the possibility that we may miss water completely and have to re-drill. And
Right,
that's,
so on its face, the contract would be whatever 12,900 is times 2. Because you could have to drill a second well.
So you're asking us to set a limit?
Say like not to
well,
exceed
that's what I'm asking,
$26,000
is that what you want
or
to do,
whatever.
so that there's room to maneuver within this if the worst case scenario occurs. So yes, there need, we either hold to this number, and when we get to 600 feet, we stop. We don't go another foot, and we may or may not have the water we need.
So then we need to actually approve this for twice the amount that's.
Or you need to give authority to allow it to be extended, if needed, up to a threshold amount, which is,
2 wells.
which would be 2 wells, which doubles the 12.9.
With the understanding that the second well, he misses the first well, if they miss the first well, it doesn't hit, that they would have to stop at 600 foot at the second well. They got to put a cap on it somewhere.
And this is the second one, we need to go in.
So you put a do not exceed, say, 13.5 on that one with an additional do not exceed 13.5 on the second well.
And the other thing is you cap a well, you have a meeting, and then they go back and drill again. I mean, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like
Right.
we're not have the water right away.
That's true.
Well, it's just a question of, when we know what type of water we have, we
Right.
can know what other things we have to plan for.
I think the contract has to be redone.
Next week we can address that.
Yeah.
So then we're not voting on this.
Well, we're trying to get you to say what the new words are so that if you give your approval tonight for the new words, we'll put it in and get everybody to sign it.
We can do that, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Does this affect the budget? Is it going to be a change in the budget if
No.
they drill 2 wells?
Well,
Well, I mean,
this goes back to the other item.
I realize you missed the meeting that we discussed these types of items. What we have right now are unknown factors right now, because we can give you an approximate number of how much it costs to drill a well and how much it costs to pull the water out of that well, but we don't know the figures until we do the work. I mean, it is the most difficult part about this, is that it is we don't know until we touch the hole.
And then there comes the question of whether we want out for a rebid of the whole project, I guess, what, in terms of the budget.
Right, and that's a separate issue that we'll work on.
Yeah, so.
So the simplest way to do this would be a motion for 2 wells at X amount, whatever Dana said, a piece, to authorize this in the contract if necessary.
I think it would be better to do it as a not to exceed, because you may get to 600 feet and have some water and think you could go further at $15 per foot, go on down another $200 or $300 and get more, or else have a more reserve.
Yeah.
Because that's usually what they do.
Right. And that's.
But you just need to not to exceed amount.
Yeah, I think that, what I would suggest is the wording, okay, with an understanding that it's $12,900 to 600. The work, but they may have to go further, and it's 15 a foot.